Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. For those of you who don't know, my name's Henry Webster and I'm a musician living and working in London. This is the first in a series of videos designed to share with you my personal reflections working as a musician in hospital and care settings. So when I'm going around a hospital, I'll take notes on my phone just so that I remember what's happened, who I've met, how many people I've met, and what the impact has been. So I'm just going to read you some of the notes I took while on my latest residency at North Middlesex University Hospital, which was very graciously funded by the Mayor of Enfield. For full transparency and just to bust a couple of misconceptions, firstly, this is work. I'm not a volunteer. I'm employed by a charity called Live Music Now. Secondly, while what I do is both musical and hopefully therapeutic, I'm not a qualified music therapist. I am a musician working in a maybe less usual setting. I was in the hospital one afternoon a week for 25 weeks, which is a really long residency. Usually these only last maybe 12 weeks. So here we go. Two percussionists who were in the same bay, a drummer and a tabla player, joined in, one clapping and the other tapping his bed with some cutlery while I played a modern Irish fiddle tune. Yeah, so sometimes it just happened to be that my being there and playing some music, these two patients from opposite sides of the room were able to engage by joining in with their different percussion backgrounds, and then I remember when I left they were then, you know, chatting about music, and that was really gorgeous. 13th of September. An infant who was crying was soothed when I played gently in his room to him. He stared into my eyes as his mother held him and I plucked a simple chord sequence. His eyes would go from my eyes to my hands and back again. When he saw me smiling at him, he smiled back. When I stopped, he would cry again, so I continued, which seemed to distract him from his pain. Okay, next. She wanted something optimistic, so I improvised something for her. This is something I often do and I actually find is one of the more effective musical interventions I have. She said that was very calming and also optimistic. So we had a discussion about how music can be so complex emotionally, and that can sometimes make it challenging. Often this is bringing music, it gives people something to think about. They can be often very, very bored, especially people. I've been back to some places for 5 weeks and seen the same person. So it can just be something to think about and to trigger the mind. Here's a few interactions, all from the same ward on the same day. The first ward I walked into, a lady was preparing a birthday cake for a patient. So I played them happy birthday while everybody on the ward sang. I remember this actually. This was a time usually my drive is about 35-40 minutes to get to the hospital, but in this instance it took me at least an hour and a half, or 2 hours, so I ended up starting an hour late. Chance would have it that when I went onto my first ward, this woman was there sort of at the entry to the ward preparing this birthday cake, I think for her mum. And so it happened that if I'd been on time I would have missed this whole interaction, so that was kind of cute. Anyway, so I then continued with a new piece of bark that I had been learning and a jolly folk tune. When I saw the same lady an hour later, she said, "I'm sending these videos to all my family all over the world. I'm still on a high." It was really sweet. In the next bay, I played a beautiful Scandinavian folk waltz, probably Roger Talroth tune, and a woman cried and said, "Thank you, it's so beautiful, just lovely." And another said she wanted to give me money. That happens quite a lot, but obviously I'm not taking money from these people. I then played some cheerful bark, again to cheer her up. She continued to cry and say how lovely it was. "Thank you so much and see you very soon." In the next bay, a man who spoke exceptionally slowly said he could listen to me play all day. He told me about the time he went to see Lonnie Donegan. I played all sorts of things, and after my second last tune, I did an encore of Scottish tunes as requested by one of the nurses. I then played a waltz to an elderly gentleman who used to teach ballroom dance. Then I met an ex-flute player who was quite unaware of what was going on, or even that I had entered the room. But when I played the Romance from the Gadfly to him, he watched me and maintained eye contact with me for a while afterwards. Yeah, sometimes, especially with older people with dementia, it's not necessarily obvious what is a good response, and sometimes you need the staff to aid you in that. So the combination of those, all in one ward, the birthday present, the woman who was quite moved, the man who I played all the Scottish tunes to, the waltzing elderly gentleman, and the ex-flute player, all on this one ward. There's so much music in the kind of collective consciousness of that ward. Moving on. played to 3 elderly ladies. One said that the violin is always so sad, so I played her the 2 most unrelentingly happy tunes I know, and she was convinced. I then talked to them for a while as they reminisced together about the music they used to listen to. It opened up an opportunity for the 2 ladies to interact with each other. I finished by playing the Lark Ascending, which they both said was absolutely beautiful, and one commented that I must have a very nice violin. I heard them saying, "Oh, wasn't that lovely," as I left the room. On a ward of older patients, I met a very confused and disturbed lady who was talking aloud, did not know where she was or what was going on. I approached her and asked if she'd like some music today. She said words to the effect of "no, not really," but I got the impression that she actually wasn't really talking to me and could really benefit from some music. "The problem is I don't remember anything," she said. I took the liberty to start playing and just see how she responded anyway. I'm very deeply aware that when you go into places like this, you are going into someone else's space, and they might not have the confidence to say, "No, I really don't want you to be here today, just leave me alone," because it's not for everybody. And I try to be very, very open, and I very often say, equally, if you don't want me here, please tell me to leave, and I will not be offended in the slightest. In this instance, I just had a sense that it was worth pushing. As soon as I started playing some calm music, she stopped talking and watched me, entranced as I played. As I continued numerous simple melodic pieces for around 20 minutes, she sang along, well enough that I wondered whether she knew these very niche Old English tunes. She danced her arms around in front of her like 2 little birds gently playing. She was noticeably much calmer, and the nurse in the room watched with some intrigue, as this was clearly not normal behaviour for this lady. As I walked over to the next patient, she continued with her hand puppetry. After I stopped playing, however, the trance seemed to break, and she went back to her disturbed muttering. It was quite heartbreaking to see, but wonderful that, if just for a handful of moments, this lady could be enchanted by the music enough to be distracted from her own confusing troubles. I met a friendly gentleman who, when I said, "Would you like some music?" he said, "No, not really." Then he proceeded to tell me his wife plays the viola, but not very well, although he tells her it's lovely. He gave me a short interview about how long I'd been playing and things, then said he listens to Classic FM in the evenings. So I said, "Can I play you something that you might have heard on Classic FM?" And when I did, he was very impressed. I can't remember what I played him. He then said, "Do you play any Irish music?" Which of course I do. So I played him a bit of that, and he was very grateful. He said that it cheered him up a lot and was very forthcoming with praise and thanks. It's really interesting, because obviously everybody has a preconception about what I'm about to play, or what a violin sounds like. And if that's something that they haven't necessarily enjoyed, or they don't want right now, then maybe they won't be open to me playing for them. But actually, it's not necessarily what they're expecting. Another woman who was with her mum said, "I can really tell you love playing, and hopefully we'll see you again next week." Her mum was not very responsive, but after I played music for a little while, she was clearly watching and listening. When her daughter said, "Did you enjoy that?" she nodded very clearly. Again, this comes back to the point I was making earlier about not necessarily knowing what a positive reaction is from a particular individual. So it can be useful if there's family there to help you with that. Okay, here's one about a baby. A little baby was mesmerised by the violin. She didn't take her eyes off me. Then someone came in to put a line into her arm. This was obviously very distressing, but she occasionally looked up and I was able to distract and soothe her at moments. I then played her a dancey tune while her dad bounced her on his knee. She didn't take her eyes off me while I left the room. I remember that was so cute. And finally, yeah, this is a difficult one. So this is what I wrote. I played to an older lady who was actually screaming in pain with someone working on her forearm. I started playing a soothing piece and she immediately stopped and seemed calmed by the music. By the time they finished, and I had played a couple more pieces, she was relaxed enough that she had fallen asleep. I think that last one gives you a bit of an impression of actually how much of an impact these things can have. Thank you for watching. I really hope this gives you a little bit of insight into the impact that music can have on the ground with patients and staff actually. If you found this interesting, let me know in the comments, and if you want to join me on this journey, then, you know, like and subscribe, all those things. If you're interested in learning more about live music now, the work we do, or even supporting, then I'll pop a link in the description. If you have any questions, please do drop them in the comments and I'll try to answer them in a future video. See you in the next one. Bye bye.